Today I wanted to show off the deck that I took to Legend this season. It's actually a deck that I've shown on the channel before, with a couple slight modifications. But I wanted to share it again, along with my final couple games on the way to Legend, just because I think the deck is actually somewhat competitive and has its merits. I'm not going to talk about the deck too much since I have featured it before. I'll just make sure to link that set of videos. But real quick, the general idea is that you have Devilsaurs die, you revive them with Witching Hour, hit the opponent for 7, cube the Devilsaur, pop your cube with the Naturalize, hit them for another 14, for a total of 9 mana, deal 21 damage to the opponent. And we've also got some other 7 health minions in the deck, so I'm playing a couple copies of Star Aligner. The two common ways that you activate your Star Aligner are just having a 7 health minion stick around on the board, and then for 3 mana you Witching Hour a Devilsaur, and then drop a Star Aligner. Or there's the Carnivorous Cube setup. Generally you value trade with a Blade Master or something, Carnivorous Cube it, the cube is a pain in the ass for the opponent to deal with, so they just don't, and then you either trade it off, or naturalize it, or trade it into something small and spellstone it. Your Blade Masters pop out, and then the stars have aligned. So the two changes I made from the previous set of videos were cutting a Branching Paths for a Lich King. This is something I talked about. I mentioned how much I don't like playing Lich King, but I think it just is a better card in this deck. The other change I made was cutting one Mossy Horror for an Ironwood Golem. I didn't feel like I was queuing into too many matchups where the Mossy Horror was impactful, and I was really feeling the pain of only having 2 targets for my Oaken Summons, and Ironwood Golem seems like the next best after the Blade Masters. So this was the sole deck that I played on my way from 5 to Legend, and over the past couple months or so, I've played close to 300 games with it, so I wanted to share some of the stats I have. So these are the 76 games I played from rank 4 to Legend. I had a 63% win rate, which I think is pretty respectable. And in 22% of my games I actually landed an active Star Aligner. And only in 15% of my games did I have to play Star Aligner as a War Golem. I was actually surprised that I landed active Star Aligners so many times. I do have plenty of other stats beyond this, but they're a lot more generic. Mostly just like my win rate against Rogue as a class. Not so much broken down into Odd Quest, or even Kingsbane or Espionage meme decks. So I think I'll hold those stats back for now. But if you're curious about my overall win rate over close to 300 games, and almost all the games other than these 76 were played at Legend rank, I'm overall 175 wins, 110 losses with the deck, which is a 61% win rate. But just looking at these specific stats I have here, I think the big takeaway is how much this deck slaughters other druids. I think overall I went 20-2 against other druids on my climb, which if you look at my overall stats, 48 and 28, there's only a gap of 20 games there. So almost all of my climbing came from just bullying other druids. I'm not sure that Taunt Druid and Big Druid are actually favorables. I think if they ever make a Hadronox board, especially if it's backed up with a Carnivorous Cube, it's really hard to get there, because even if you land a Star Aligner, it doesn't kill their stuff. But I did manage to win that matchup a lot more than I lost it. I think that's probably a bit of a high roll, but in general I think these stats are pretty well representative of how favored you are against Malygos and Togwaggle Druid. You just apply so much consistent pressure throughout the game and they just can't deal with it. Another matchup I'd like to point to is the Odd Rogue matchup. In general, I think this deck does pretty poorly against aggro, and that's mostly because I'm not playing Spreading Plague. But I guess it just turns out that if you swipe their 3-drop or spellstone their 3-drop, that kills a lot of their momentum, and your Oaken Summons can put in a lot of work just value trading. Sometimes they go for a Giggling Inventor play and you can just blow them out with Mossy Horror. And generally if you ever land Malfurion the Pestilent, it's really hard for them to ever get there. So Odd Rogue ends up being a surprising favorable. The two matchups that were really giving me trouble are Zoo and Aggro Mage. I feel like against Zoo you really feel the pain of not having Spreading Plague. And generally they just play so many things that even if you Spellstone a Flame Imp and play Oaken Summons on 4, they just play too much stuff. You can't actually kill all of it. And because of Keleseth, your Mossy Horror is completely invalidated. But sometimes you're able to keep up with them. A lot of times they can't do anything about your cube setups for Star Aligner, and that's how you often swing the board back in your favor. Against Aggro Mage, generally the game plan is ramp to Malfurion and then out-armor their damage, but sometimes they kill you before that because Mana Wyrm's a hell of a card. And sometimes you just get blown out when they play a counterspell, you can't afford to play around it, and you sink like 4 or 5 mana into a spell that doesn't do anything. I actually wouldn't be that surprised if the Aggro Mage matchup was favorable, because if you ever play Malfurion the Pestilent, you almost always just win that game. But it's always hard to evaluate the Mana Wyrm decks, because so many of the losses just feel like you got high rolled. Hard to say if this 10-game sample size really does it justice. Other than those matchups, the only other one I thought was interesting was Odd Warrior. When I was first playing the deck, I found that since I have limited damage and they have unlimited armor, fairly often it would just go to fatigue and I wouldn't have the damage to kill the opponent. But on my climb I went 5-0, and it seemed like I was just consistently able to apply too much pressure. If they ever missed like a Shield Slam removal or a Reckless Flurry clear, they just died. Even though they have so much armor, they can't really afford to take like even one extra hit. So I think you can actually just apply enough pressure for that to be a favorable. But really the big takeaway here is if you're seeing other druids, you're going to do pretty well with Devilsaur Druid. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into the gameplay, and I'll be sure to link the other set of videos with a similar deck. Definitely not happy to see a rogue. I probably keep Swipe for his 3-drop, but if he like coins out a Fledgling, I'm in trouble.
None will survive.
That's a good pickup. Lets me deal with a coined out Fledgling.
The light protects me.
Wild Growth also lets me just swipe a Fledgling, which takes the Divine Shield off this. If he goes 1-drop Cold Blood, I probably have to like Spellstone Hero Power this and just take, what is this, 10 damage. If there's no Cold Blood, I don't think I Spellstone this, because it just gets caught up in the swipe next turn. And I think I probably will have to swipe next turn. Alright, there's the swipe. What is this, Edwin? I don't know why else you would coin there. Have to go ahead and naturalize that guy, but that's fine. So I can either play an Arcane Tyrant or just like Hero Power Spellstone this guy. Probably want to Hero Power Spellstone him. Play the fresh Spellstone because it's farther from being upgraded. I'm definitely not very comfortable with my position in this game, but I'm one Malfurion away from being very comfortable. That's a good draw. Alright, I guess he doesn't mind taking the 7 here. He's pretty far ahead. Oh, he's not going to take it? Okay. Let's go ahead and play Lich King. He's played Coin and he's on 7 mana, so he needs Vile Spine plus a 1-drop. I mean, it's not hard for him to have a 1-drop, but like this is kind of inefficient. I do eat the 5 though, which is not very fun. Probably can't afford to use my weapon here. I have seen both Cold Bloods and a Deckhand, so that's a lot of his burst. What if I just Frostmourne and Hero Powered? 8, 9, 10. I'm dead to 2 damage, so another Deckhand, 2 Deadly Poisons, Leroy, 2 Fungal Mancers. Okay, if I play Frostmourne, I'm like guaranteed dead. So let's go for the Hero Power Spellstone line. Whoops, missed my attack. Rank 1 plays. If I just don't die this turn, I get to cast Ultimate Infestation. Alright, so I get to clear his board, have a full hand. I'm gonna have a 4-1, a 5-5, and a 4-4.
I'm out of cards.
So can he kill me from 14? Leroy, hero power, double deadly deckhand. That's 10 mana, he's only on 9. I don't believe I can die this turn. And I get to play Malfurion next turn. Giggler, sure.
The light protects me.
Haven't played any Devilsaurs, so these witching hours kind of suck. Yeah, this looks like a Malfurion and just don't die plan. I'll even trade my 4-1 into his 2-1 just because he doesn't have that much time left. I don't want him to land a Fungal Mancer or something. He took 4 fatigue there, so 5 next turn. I'll only need to hit him for 14 here, and I can go Frostborn Hero Power for 8 of that. That is the second Giggling Inventor. They don't typically play many more taunts. King Mukla. He needs to kill both of my big guys. Or play some taunts, but I don't think he's going to have Tar Creepers in his Mukla Void Ripper list. Alright, looks like I should have lethal here. Seemed like a weird spot to put the Fungal Mancer, but maybe buffing the deckhand didn't do anything. He's taking 4 fatigue, he's at 13, yeah, easy lethal. Oh, this is even just lethal without the fatigue. Okay, well, I missed one of my hero power attacks like a noob, but we still got there. And I think this is an unfavorable, so it feels good to win this one. Found a Druid. Druids tend to be good matchups. I think I played against this guy earlier and he was Odd Warrior, so can't really draw too many conclusions from that. Maybe I should consult my match history. Yeah, I played him twice and he was on Warrior both times, so I don't have a read on what he's playing. If I knew he was Malagos, I could keep the Malfurion. Armoring up is really nice. But I think without knowing that, I should probably toss it. Armor is not good against Taunt, Togwaggle, Token, any of those. And I don't think I can keep Ultimate Infestation without ramp. I don't really like keeping Ultimate Infestation in this deck anyway, even with ramp. I think it's better to just like curve out with Oaken Summons and Devilsaurs and stuff. Alright, so this hand is probably coin Oaken Summons, into Nourish, into Devilsaur. Looks like things are plotted out for me pretty cleanly, unless he plays like a Whispering Woods or something, then I'll swipe it. With the double Oaken Summons into the Nourish, the Starliner could actually just land. Ferocious Howl, so shouldn't be Token Druid. I think that's good for me. I haven't played against enough Token Druids to have a strong opinion on the matchup, but I think of the popular ones, like the Malagos Togwaggle Token, I think Token is the worst. The worst matchup for me. I've been playing against a pretty decent handful of Taunt Druids today. I think that matchup's pretty awful. So do I want to attack into this? It breaks my 7 health thing, but I don't think it's very likely. Like, I still have to go Nourish next turn and then Starliner the following turn. I think it's better to just smack through this and try to get forward to his face next turn. Hate to see that Spellstone. So I could go here and then just cube my guy. It's not like Druid plays Silence or anything, so I just trade off my cube over a couple turns, maybe land a Star Aligner. But I think ramping makes a lot of sense here too, because then I can just like play Devilsaur to run through this next turn. Like, bumping and playing my cube doesn't really put any extra power on the board, not for a couple turns at least. So I just want some more mana. I assume he's going to have the final 1 damage to deal to this guy. If not, I'm definitely going to cube this, but I assume he's going to do something here. What would you target it with? Wow. Okay. So it looks like he's probably just Taunt Druid. This is not good. This is a bad matchup. Can play the Devilsaur here. I don't know that I would kill this guy. Could also just cube my guy. It's a fairly reliable setup for a Star Aligner in a couple turns. It's like he's not going to kill this cube if it has Blade Masters in it. I could just like play Devilsaur and not attack with it. That sets up to cube it next turn. Could even just go like cube Witching Hour. But he just needs like a Naturalize for that to go poorly. I think I like cubing my guy. Seems like a lot of value to get out of a 4-1. It is pretty valuable to just get a Devilsaur out of the hand when I have a Witching Hour though. It's gonna kill my cube for me. No, you can't kill it. If he bumps, I can bump back and then Star Aligner and kill the Ironwood Golems. That's pretty powerful. I mean, I feel like that's the play. Just put a pretty good amount of stats on the board. Star Aligner doesn't land super often, so you should take it when you get it. He's going into his turn 8, which isn't a very impressive turn. It could be like a Primordial Drake or something, and then I just like run a Devilsaur and Hero Power into it, and I get to push all this damage. Could be like Innervate O-Card or something. That's kind of the nightmare. Alright, this guy, do I want to just run a Devilsaur into it, or do I want to naturalize it? I might actually be pretty close to lethal here. Naturalize, swipe face, Hero Power. That's 20 damage. I think I just like Devilsauring into this thing. And I can afford to take this 8. I'll just Hero Power it, hold back on the Spellstone. And then next turn can just be like, Naturalize through a Taunt, Witching Hour, Devilsaur, swipe, I just have a ton of damage.
Let's see. Time grows short.
It's a pretty bad start to the turn for him. He really needs to do something about my board, and Death Grip doesn't do that. Yeah, he looks super dead here.
My hand overflows.
I really feel like this should be an unfavorable, but I've won it like 4 times in a row. He was so dead. I had 11 from hand. 57, I was hoping for top 50. Oh well, 57's acceptable. Let's go for number 1.